Hello all and welcome back to High Ridge Farm with me, the Walrus. We're entering into day 11 in our glorious 4th year thanks to the 1.6 update. And we have a few more things that we need to do. This week, I need to visit Robin because I would very much like the attic to be built in my house, and during the last couple of days I've been unable to do so because she decided to go on a vacation holiday over to Ginger Island, which was somewhat annoying. But, you know, credit where credit's due, she does actually do a lot of work around the village, so I'll give her some, you know, I'm not as upset as I could be. However, other things that we have going on today are going to be, hopefully, getting more stuff growing. Now, as part of when I unlocked the farming mastery, I also gained the access to some special mystic seeds. Now, those I have planted 3 of. I've slapped them with the tree fertilizer because, of course, I have, because I want to make sure that we gather that they grow quickly and that we can have them fast. And, you know, I think it's quite sensible to have them, the faster the better. I don't know what they're actually going to do, what I can get from them. So I'm going to put a heavy tapper on them as soon as they're ready. But I don't know what else, and what they actually will do is a very different question. I genuinely don't know. So hopefully they are something different and interesting and they give me something useful. So, you know, I've got to, that is my consideration mostly at the moment for that one. So hopefully we get something good. But less about the rambling about the trees that we've got going on here. We've still got a little bit of stuff that we still need to work on the farm itself. Now, one of the things I mentioned previously is debating whether I should sell some of the animals that I have. Now, I'm looking mostly at potentially selling, well, it's a couple of the chickens, because other than the blue chicken, which I definitely want to keep, the other chickens are maybe not as useful, like the brown and the white one, because now the golden chicken just does everything that they do, but better. They lay better quality eggs, faster, and because I've given one of them the token type thing that means that they end up doubling their production, I essentially don't have to worry quite as much, as they'll just keep producing for me, which is absolutely fantastic, and doubling up on the production, which I am not upset about in any way, shape or form. Now, one of the things I do need to be aware of as well is coming soon, I'm sure, will be that some of the wines in the cellar will be maturing, so I need to stop selling all of the wine right away, which is, I mean, I will generate enough of the starfruit wine as we go. I just have to be a little bit more careful and remember to maybe grab another 40 or 50 bottles out and actually put them in the house into storage there until they're ready, because, well, I don't want to run out. But as we go, I am looking at other things to be preserved and pickled, and we've got lots of things generally going on in here anyway. So there are a couple of new things that I don't think you could pickle taro root. I didn't think you could pickle mushrooms previously. I might have been wrong on both of those statements, but I don't remember being able to pickle them. But it is nice that you definitely can now. You know, I should really try is ginger, because ginger root is something I eat a lot of anyway, because I really like the taste of ginger, and I really, really like the taste of pickled ginger. I think I've mentioned it maybe before, where I've been very nearly thrown out of a sushi restaurant. I mean, I say restaurant. It wasn't exactly like the most high pinnacle quality sushi restaurant, but all the same, because I nearly ate an entire jar of pickled ginger. I have a problem. I'm aware of this. I like ginger. To be fair, I also really just like pickled things, so it's a dangerous combination considering I have a absolute love of pickled food, and then when, well, the option comes, I'm definitely going to have more of it. Now, one of the things when it comes to general pickled stuff is, of course, it'd be kind of nice to actually do, because there isn't a cabbage in Stardew that I've seen yet. Because the only new crop that I've found so far is, of course, carrots. I mean, I could be right, because I don't want to call out this is a thing, because, again, I've not really looked through the patch notes very heavily. I probably should do, but I remember them being quite vague, and I'm kind of glad of it, because it keeps my... keeps with my general trend of trying to be careful and not use the wiki for anything. So maybe there's some cabbage, because, you know, pickled cabbage, kimchi, that's a good thing. But, you know, that's a thing. Anyway, as we just ramble and rave as we go, I just need to do just general farm maintenance as we go, and I'm debating about moving a couple of things around, because the other advantage as well with the latest 1.6 is, as well as being able to move the house around, you can also move your fruit trees, which is really nice. It does mean that you've got the option to reposition a lot of the layout of the farm, which is an absolute godsend. It really is. Now, considering I've planted most of my fruit trees inside the greenhouse and also on Ginger Island, where you can't do anything, that's a bit of a shame. But it would be interesting to see if there were maybe not an ability to build anything new on Ginger Island, but maybe move things around a little. That'd be quite nice. Not expecting anything to actually happen of that regards, but it'd be nice if that did. But hey, that's Ginger Island. I do enjoy the fact that we've gained essentially a second farm as part of the expansions in the past. I don't know if I'd want to see another Ginger Island-esque or another island farm or something else like that. I don't know what I would want to see if there was a major change in a later expansion. I haven't really thought about it, to be fair. There's a few little minor quality of life tweaks, but the thing is, most of the quality of life things are generally being reflected and actually changed. Like, one of the ones I didn't realise how much I needed was the multiples. Now, as we can see here, we've got the wonderful bookseller in today. Now, I've not really looked much into this particular individual yet. I know they exist, that's about it. But I've bought all the books here. Let's have a quick grab through of these. I say I've bought them all. I'm going to buy all the books. And that's, I mean, I think a perfectly reasonable and sensible thing to do here. Because why would you not? If the option is there, yes, please. So, yeah, I'm having a look at this. And yes, I've learned some things about combat. I've learned a new power. I think this one gives you some speed boost on the horse. So, you know, I'm getting some pretty damn helpful things here, really. And I'm definitely not upset about any of them. Because being able to zoom around like a madman is absolutely fantastic. It's great. That's really how I can boil it down to. It's being able to actually do things better as in the farm and earn more skill points towards mastery, and it's the little subtle things, like the little subtle bonuses that some of those books are actually giving. I should probably actually have a look through, because there is the book summary stats that you've got as part of your sort of like, this is my farmer. Now, let's crack open some of these golden present thingies. So, we've cracked open the basic ones. We've got a few warp totems, that's fine. Ooh, Lucky Lunch. I mean, that's quite a good one. Now, the Lucky Lunch is one that's come to mind very heavily because, as I've mentioned in a previous video, I did actually do a single round in one of my pub quizzes on Stardew Valley. And my question that I threw out to people was, which food item gives you the highest bonus to luck boost? And a lot of people did answer the Lucky Lunch, but unfortunately they are wrong, because the biggest bonus to luck that you can get is from the rock candy, which gives you +5. And because it's not an item that you're very often going to get, a lot of people didn't realise that that was an option. I do feel a little bit bad for them, but at the same time I also don't, because I'm a terrible human being. And yes, that is the case. I am indeed a terrible person. But that's the thing, is when it comes to things like a pub quiz, you're going to make it you're going to write it up, and you're going to make it as ridiculous as possible. because that's how this works. And the that particular quiz will actually be going up next, because I decided to take a little jump out of the way to then upload my build your own pub quiz to give the people who've mentioned that they wanted to have a go at it but didn't get the chance to. So that one will be one of the next videos going up, actually. And then I'm going to work back through the back catalogue of pub quizzes, which, you know, that's how this works. But whilst we're roaming around in Stardew Valley, we've got the lovely joys of Pelican Town, and I've got all of this cauliflower. Now, I'm quickly zooming around because I do have a couple of things that I want to do before the end of the day. Now, all the cauliflower is great and all, and I'm going to take that over to the pickling shed, what with the powerful joys of cauliflower being a very valuable, I think the most valuable spring crop when it comes to being preserved like that. It is a phenomenally useful resource. Again, I think that's kind of the given, though, isn't it, for a lot of things in this game, that some of them are quite damn good. Now, I've got my first wave of key fruit, and I'm just gonna ship that out straight away. Now, I know full well I'm going to live to regret that decision, but that's just, you know, that's how I've decided to go for today's attempt at the key fruit. Now, I've already done it before a couple of times, but I'm really after it, mostly because I do want some more of the key gems, and maybe I should stop focusing on stuff that already exists within the game. And I know that might sound a little bit silly, but I should really be trying to focus more on what's new and what opportunities and interesting things are actually available to me now. And I think that's something I've been, not saying neglecting, but I haven't really been thinking about what's new and what would be good for me to focus upon. Because that is something I haven't really been doing so much, is I haven't focused on all of the new stuff. But I've grown a number of carrots, and one of the things that I have also noticed that I didn't realise was an actual thing is that the carrot seeds, there's an extra different version of the artifact spot, and that this artifact spot is slightly different, and it doesn't look like 3 worms, it looks more like waving grass. So being aware of it is probably something to think of. I didn't know that it was a difference thing until I actually harvested some and then realised, actually, no, this is a bit different, which was very useful, to be fair, because it then made me go, oh, I can get more carrot seeds and much faster, which is kind of an important thing, because carrot seeds are very useful, obviously, being that carrots are a new crop. Although, I've not really sat down and looked at how much they are valued at. However, one of the books that I did purchase allows me to hover over any item and it'll tell me how much it is worth. And that is a phenomenal power. The ability to actually look up and actually just quickly see, rather than having to wait until the end of the day and kind of guess, is just fantastic. And there are a few items that I know are valuable, but the thing is, with all the newer stuff and the general value of other items in the game, there are times when I go, I don't actually know what's more valuable to me. And I know there are some who really do min-max and really do play hard, thinking about what's the most effective and combination of when one should put stuff in and what order things should be grown in. And obviously, as you can tell, that's not my jam, mostly because I'm too scatterbrained to be able to do that, which I know is it's a bit of a problem, I will freely admit, because yeah, I'm very much of my brain is just gone most of the time. I am a scatterbrained fool, so really I should be maybe a bit careful. But I think being able to have a look is a good thing. Now, of course, we've got a few slimes that were roaming around in there. Nothing super major, nothing too much of a concern. I think that's an important thing to be aware of. Now, I'm going to harvest some of the grass, because it does look like the animals have already eaten their way through most of the grass that was around and about near them, which again is perfectly fine. That's kind of what they do. but I would like a better way of growing it, because what I've done with placing it under the pylon works. No, it's not pylon, sorry, but the lightning rod, because of course it stops it from being, that particular one from being eaten, does it, and it does allow them to grow. But of course I'm wondering if maybe I've got too many animals in such a small area, and really it does just going to mean that I'm going to have to buy hay, which isn't the end of the world, especially since I will gather hay as I go throughout the game, scything down grass, and because I do have the haymaker sword, but I'm not actually carrying it with me at the moment, which is something maybe I should start doing again. I'm not entirely sure. I think is probably the best way of looking at it. So yeah, it's a thing. But we've got all of the ancient fruit ready here, so I'm just going to scythe my way through that to gather the ancient fruit, because that's the joys of the iridium scythe. It is such a phenomenally useful tool, and it is one of those things that I know I joked about when I was looking through the mods and such previously, when I did that very quick mod hunt, which even now actually I think most of them are null and void, because the only ones I had were skins, like item skins, so they looked a bit different, such as the different wines, the different preserves. But now that Curiosave has actually implemented decent, like I say decent, much nicer, interesting effects and designs for pickles and jams and preserves and wines already in the game, well, it doesn't matter so much, does it? The other things that I was looking at, if memory serves, were some of the other ideas of like potentially being able to grow, like make kimchi and other different crops and things, but they didn't work out very well because I didn't install all the right mods. But hey, I think we're going to see a few more just mods going through in future. But I will have maybe another peruse through on the Stardew mods, and I might actually try and install a few. But what I can do is I can always just turn them off and on. So I might try and keep this one a modded free, but might do another slightly more modded run, I don't know. But my point was that one of the major mods that I did see a lot of was essentially allowing you to use the scythe to harvest crops. And of course I can see why Curiosave has added that in as a functionality, because if it's a mod that a lot of people are desiring, because it does make it easier, I can really see the benefit of it. It does make it a lot easier. But because of the way that my brain works, I don't tend to like game modifications that make it easier to play, which sounds very silly and potentially a little bit haha, I want it to be difficult. But my logic really is that if I've got if I've modded a game, it's usually because I've already completed it and I want more. And I want that to either be more challenging or add a swath of new features or something interesting or new. Almost as if somebody had done an actual expansion to it. And to be fair, Curiosave is doing some fantastic expansion work, so I'm not too upset. Now, look at all of this starfruit that needs harvesting. I'm going to run out of starfruit itself, I think. Right, yeah, I don't have enough. So I'm going to have to go and buy some more. Now, the question is, do I do that now? I think that's probably a good idea, isn't it? And then I'll come back and I'll scythe down all the other ones. And then I'll just replant all the starfruit. That'll be good. And, I mean, again, that'll be another bunch of things that can be just added into the wine manufacturing process. I'm considering maybe I should have just put, rather than the quality down on them, but because when you put them in the keg, you make and you make them into alcohol. I mean, unless it's changed, because I've not thought about trying that. I've not put an iridium quality fruit into any of the, what are they called? Into any of the kegs as yet. So maybe I should try that. I'm curious to see if that does actually make a difference. I mean, it'd be interesting if it makes it even just like a silver quality, because that's already a step ahead when it comes to the aging process that I'm using in the cellar at the moment. So maybe when I get another iridium quality crop, I'll try it in the keg, and just one, and I'll make sure it's a different cake. Or maybe I'll do it in the house, so I know which one it is, and I know it's different. So I'll obviously, shockingly enough, I'll know whether it was actually a decent change. And if it does change in a positive manner, then maybe I'll go for it, and it might actually work. But again, I'm not sure. So we will see. We will see. And there's not much else I can say on that regard, but I'm going to have to try, don't I? But look at this. I do love being able to scythe through all of these starfruit. It does make it so much easier, especially when you've got all of those just teeming hordes of flat land like I have there. Which, yes, I know, if I'd played on the regular farm, like the starting one, I would have had that as well. But as I said when I started the farm, I wanted to try something different, something I'd never done before. And I think actually at some point I will try the Meadowlands farm, and I think that'll be a nice fun, just to see what it looks like and see what it does and see what's different. I think that might be just kind of cool to do, even as just a little YouTube short thing, because that's something I've not really done much with, and I don't know whether it'll work very well, but it might. It's just something to consider that I've not really tried much of before, and I think that's a thing though. Is I'm trying out different approaches to my Stardew Valley gameplay and my recording, and that's the thing is, as I learn more and get new skills when it comes to the filming, I might as well. Now, of course, starfruit is still my default high-value crop. I haven't seen anything else that would say otherwise as yet. I mean, I'm curious to see if there is. And I know during the summer I'm probably just going to plant teeming hordes of it, but I'm curious to see what are the other crops that can be giant. Now, I don't know what they are. I mean, obviously I know the initial three, which are, of course, the cauliflower, the melon, and the pumpkin, but I am very keen to know. But anyway, let's roll on over to the next day. So we're into Friday now. So let us see, what can we do here today? I mean, it's an interesting question regardless, isn't it? So, hello child, you are indeed a thing. And I'm waiting for my child Stephen to get to the age where they can wear a hat, because that'll be fun. I wonder if the children can wear actual, like, clothing that you've tailored for them, in the same way I know I mentioned in I think actually the previous video, where I was discussing about actually wanting to look into how one makes all of the clothes in the game, and because I know that there are all the different things that you can do as part of the tailoring, which is again all part of the sewing machine, and I've not really looked into that. That might be something. Ooh, it's the Egg Festival, is it tomorrow? Ooh, fantastic. I think it might be interesting to see what I can do with that. And if I can make clothing for my children, that'll be funny. Or even clothing that I can... I wonder if I could... Not force, but I wonder if I could get Haley to wear something. Because that'd be interesting. Being able to dress your spouse. Put something maybe silly on them, like a hat. Don't worry, I'm not going to put cat ears on her. Not that insane. But at the same time, my horse has got a skull mask on, I think, at the moment. I'm debating whether I should find another hat for them. Oh, maybe the horse should have the Mr. Key mask. I was thinking about putting that on Stephen, because that would be funny to put on a small child. I mean, the cat head on the other, on Ray, is quite silly. But maybe... I mean, I wonder if there's any Jojo. Not Jojo, sorry, Joja. Jojo, that's a very different kettle of fish on that one. Yeah, you definitely don't want a stand user being on your horse. That would be a bit different. Yeah, so I do wonder if there is a Joja headpiece that I could put on the horse and make them look infinitely ridiculous. But at the same time, as I mentioned previously, because of the fact that I've not quite driven Joja completely to extinction, but I did drive them from town, they don't have their store, which means I don't have the ability to get their what's it called, their catalogue, which would be quite nice to have, as that would give me the ability to have silly Joja things. And, yeah. Oh well. That's a thing, isn't it? But, hey, I've got the Wizards catalogue, I've got the Rustic one, I've got a few. I did actually quite enjoy the Wizards one because I do enjoy reading. Now, I'm not quite as much of an avid reader as I know some of my friends are. My best friend is particularly an avid reader. I've watched her tear through piles of books. And that's great. I love it. Because why would you not want to just lose yourself in a book? It's wonderful. Unfortunately, my brain just means I'm too scatterbrained. Like, I've read a few in the last couple of years. I mean, got about 20 books in the last couple of years. But I would like to actually try and read more. Something that I need to actually try and scope myself back into. And maybe stop reading all the Warhammer novels. Which I know might sound very silly, but because I used to work for Games Workshop for a number of years, about a decade actually, I have picked up a number of Warhammer books that I've just not read. Because if a book came out about a particular faction I was collecting, I was like, yeah, why not? Let's grab it. It'd be fun. Oops. So yeah, I've made some. I don't want to say bad choices. I've just made some interesting choices when it came to the books that I've purchased in the past. So yeah, that's a thing. So yeah. Oh my goodness, look at all of this wine. So I'm going to replace the wine with all the beers, because this is the beer shed right now. And as soon as we run out of hops, I'm going to try and then make all the mead and what other things I could make. Yeah, that's the thing I haven't really got many of, is a lot of hives. And that might be something that might be quite nice to actually sort out, is a number of hives. Because I do like bees, as I know I've previously mentioned. I did used to keep them. I had a big interest in bees. And I think it'd be fun just to be able to make lots of mead. Because I quite like mead itself. So yeah, maybe that'll be something that I should look at doing in-game. Because I've not really done that. Maybe I could turn the quarry into that. Because I don't need wood quite as much as I did when I turned the quarry into that very important, over-the-top wood production facility, really. That's what it turned into. So maybe, just maybe, that's something I could do. And that'd be quite fun, I think, maybe. You can tell that maybe is the the word of choice for the day, can't you? So, other silliness aside, you can see we've got lots of other food and crops here. Now, the great advantage of actually grabbing that sales value book telling you how much stuff is worth, it really does make life so much easier, because it means that I can actually just go, oh, how much money is this worth? So I can look at the pickled and the pumpkin jelly versus the dried. So it was the pineapple was the one I was looking at. That's the one that I really want to have a look at. And I didn't actually do, but I should really remember to have a look at when I put the next batch in. Now, again, because I've got the large quantity of pineapple plants, it does mean that I don't have to maintain them very much. All I have to do is go in, harvest them all, and then just put them in the chests, which does make life a lot easier. It's a very simple process for that one. Okay, so those new mystic trees are growing pretty quickly, which is nice. I do wonder how quickly they sort of come up and actually will be... I do wonder how quickly they'll be ready, really. I think that's probably the best way of describing it. I don't know. And when they are ready, what are they going to... I mean, what will they do? What will they give me? And what benefits and bonuses am I going to get from them? So, I'm curious. Very, very curious is probably the best way of describing it. I might also replace some of the hardwood trees that I have over on Ginger Island with a few of them. Because, if I'm honest, I don't need that much sap now. I mean, yes, it's nice to have it, but I don't need it in that same... Again, that same degree as I desperately needed it to make all of the fertilizers. Now, yes, I will still burn through a lot of it, but I think I've got something like 4,000 sap. It's not something I'm running out of anytime soon, I think, now. Which is... I mean, it makes it a bit silly having so much, I feel. not the end of the world. It just feels a bit silly. So yeah, that's kind of my jam and thought process on that one, at least at the moment. So I'm going to have a good umming and ahhing and having a think about what can I do that would make it easier and better. But otherwise, we've got a few other zany plans for the day. So I'm going to be slapping those mushrooms into the seed processor. Again, I'm trying to get more tea plants. So I'm going to need to turn the mushrooms into the wild seeds for the fall or the autumn season, which will then give me the ability to then turn them into tea plants. And that's just going to be how that's going to go for a bit, because that's my logic and my game plan. I want to just make as many tea plants as possible right now, because I've got loads of coffee plants, and when I do a coffee harvest, my goodness, it feels an absolute insane amount of coffee, all the beans everywhere. But it's great because, of course, that means I can then use the facilities that I have available, which is the combination shed. I think it's probably the best way of describing that shed, it being that it is both preserve jars and the kegs. I can use all the kegs in there to make coffee, and in the same way I can do the same, I could make tea in them, because, well, I'll have the resources available to me. I did a very big fail at English there, apologies. Okay, so I'm going to grab some coconuts, that's fine. I'm going to flatten these. Ah, thank you, Frog. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that you did splatterize that, but I did kind of want to kill it myself. Mostly because I really wanted to get that, I want to see what I can get out of them. Hopefully key fruit. Well, not key fruit, sorry, but the key seeds, key beans. Okay. That's fine, though. It's not the end of the world, I'll live. Okay. Hopefully something else appears that is useful. The other thing I'm considering is I do need to get more key spices, or the key flavouring, or whatever it's called, because that is something that I'm going to need a lot of, I think, honestly. When I look at what's, like, its use to me is something I just really need a lot of it. It's kind of reasonably and normal, I think. But I think for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break all the rocks that are here, because again, I'm trying to get key beans as well as other things that are just generally available here on Ginger Island, such as the Omnigeodes. And because I didn't realise it when I had a quick look at the Desert Trader when I was last there, they have a new magical hat. So of course I've got the magical turban, but they have a magical cowboy hat. That's quite a cute idea, and I like the rotating colours. It's just nice. I like it. So I would like more of that sort of style of thing, thank you please. So we'll see what we can get, but hopefully we can get something good. Okay, so that's another prehistoric hand type thing. I mean, being able to turn bone products into fertilizer is an absolute godsend now. Because a lot of the time they just sort of, well, they would just take up space. I don't really need a bunch of prehistoric hands, do I? It's, I mean, yes, if they were real prehistoric actual fossils, it would feel like absolute heresy for somebody like myself, who I grew up absolutely adoring the whole paleontology and dinosaurs, and yeah, that would drive me absolutely potty if I was really doing that, but thankfully I'm not, so I'm less concerned. Right, so we've got ourselves another 11 seeds for the wild seeds that are available, so that's going to be another couple of tea plants that we can grow up, which is good. And again, they're just going to get thrown into the already pre-watered, fully 100% retaining soil of those plant pots, which means I don't have to do anything. And I think actually tea plants don't need watering anyway, so it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other in that regard. It's all good regardless, so that's kind of all that matters, is it's good, and I don't have to worry about it. I'd rather it with that way, because then the less effort that I have to put in, the easier everything will be. Shock and horror, who would have guessed that being the capability and concept, that things are easier if you don't have to deal with it? Oh, who would have guessed? So yes, let's have a look and see if there's anything else. Now, so let's make those tea saplings, so that's good. Now, what else do I want to try to make? if anything. So the trouble is I need a large quantity of moss to actually make that statue. And the other thing as well is I'd really like to make other things that require moss, but I know that a few of them do require other ingredients, such as like that mystic sap. And that's something I'm assuming that one gets that from that mystic seed when you put a tapper on it. I could be wrong. I mean, that's why I've only got 3 of those trees for now, because I wasn't sure if I might need the other trees to be, well, the regular ones I already have, because they could be kind of important to be the ones I've already got. In the same way, I might go, oh, I might really need more of the, oh goodness, the pine tar, because it's particularly useful for making some of the, I think it's used for the kegs. Now, thankfully, I don't really need any more kegs. I do have a large quantity of them, but I might want to make a bunch more of them and take them over to Ginger Island and then just actually start making some wine or beer in that house there, because it's currently wasted dead space since I don't really spend any time there. I don't sleep there. But at the same time, I could probably put a basic bed in there and just keep it reasonably Spartan, but use it as a another manufacturing shed, but of course being of much larger size. And in the same way, the house itself will open up a lot more space. But I have read enough horror stories of people where their spouse ends up redecorating a room and just destroying all of the stuff that you've got laid out in there. And I really, really don't want to deal with that. Thankfully, however, I think that's not going to be too much of an issue. Hopefully. Because I'm not expecting really to put anything into any kegs in the house. For now. Hopefully. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but I felt that the cubby was kind of the perfect place to put the interior design sections of the, like, all the catalogues and such, because I feel like a reasonable and sensible way. Keeps them out of the way, but still accessible. Because, you know, that is a thing, isn't it? You know, you want to be able to actually access them and actually have at the crafting opportunities there, don't you? I was going to say, I don't think it's going to be particularly difficult for me to murderize a bunch of slimes in here. At the same time, the frog does very much go, you see that over there? It needs to die, needs to be eaten, and it needs to be in my belly. Which is, I mean, okay, it's a useful thing. It keeps away the enemies, which is always nice. But as I've mentioned earlier, it's not as conducive as you might expect sometimes, where you actually want them to drop things. So I think maybe if I was trying to do the dungeon delving deeper into Skull Caves, it would be more beneficial, probably the best way of putting it, versus sometimes where I've gone, oh, actually I don't need to worry as much. But yeah, I'm just going to quickly roll on back to the house and kind of go from there, I think, at this point. Although, I do have a couple of things that I want to just double check. And I think that it's probably, again, a good idea to just cut down a bunch of trees. The lumber itself, I think I might just turn into charcoal at this point, because I've got a lot of lumber itself, and I don't really need it so much compared to charcoal. Well, charcoal, sorry, coal. But, you know, you can tell you've played Minecraft, and that's all you can think of when turning wood into charcoal. But yes, that's all the same. It's still a resource that you can use for that. Mostly because I actually want 999 of the coal to get the piano. Because as I mentioned when I first noticed it, I play the piano and it'd be really cool to have one in my house, and that would make me happy. And I think that's perfectly normal, perfectly sensible. But for now, we're just going to gather what we can and just double check and see if there are any more spring onions and cut these trees down. I mean, we're coming up to midnight now, so we can't really hang around too much later, because of course we don't want to risk it too much and end up screwing ourselves over. But we're going to pick up the fishing mastery. So get the challenge bait. Ooh, triple. That's interesting. And you get the new iridium rod. Look at that, the advanced iridium rod with 2 bobber options. Ooh, and I haven't, I could enchant it because I've enchanted my first one, so I mean, it would make perfect sense to me to enchant it, so I might as well. I think that'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? I mean, I know that my current Iridium Rod has the efficient, so it doesn't actually use any energy up. But I wonder what other enchants I could actually get for it. I mean, the Advanced Iridium Rod can surely have an enchant. I mean, thankfully, because I don't have to go to the volcano myself now, because I have the mini forge thing in my shed, which is a very strange concept that I have a volcanic forge in my shed. But hey, it's a thing. We've got it, and that's all that matters here. But oh well. Ooh, okay, it's 1 AM. We should probably put these diamonds away and just make sure everything's organised and ready for the next day. So, what I will do is I'll bid all of you a very fond farewell. Thank you very much for tuning in while I sort out the last little bits before I close down for the evening of the game. If you have enjoyed, please do like, share and subscribe, because all of those are always really nice and always helpful to see. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters, my patrons on Patreon, because apparently that's how it's supposed to be. I'm not sure, but hey, it's the thing. But a big thank you to all of you who do support me, whether it's just through likes and shares and just talking and, you know, introducing people to it. It's always nice to see and nice to hear about. So hopefully I will catch you all again the next time the Walrus plays Stardew Valley.